Good morning, everybody. I Tushar Jain, CFO and Research Head of Ajayastromoneyguru. Welcome all of you to on 25th November 2022. In this episode, we will discuss about crude oil prices and what is and crude oil trade for the next few trading weeks. So, before coming to the prices, let us first look at the major upcoming events in terms of crude oil in the global level. So, as you can see on the screen, there are some informations about the crude oil as there's only 2 weeks left before the before the European Union uh, ban on the Russian crude oil, but it is still importing around 15% of the crude oil from Russia. As on 8th June 2022, the European Union decided to impose complete ban on uh, imports of Russian crude oil and crude oil products that is shipped through ships, and the ban will take place from the effect on 5th December 2022, which is almost 2 weeks left for the ban. And if we see at the starting of the year, the Russia exported around 11 million tons crude oil by ship to the European Union each month, and it is around 60% of the Russian uh, crude oil export, and that is of the seaborne export, and which is approximately 30% of the European Union's seaborne crude oil imports. And uh, in the first half of the November, the Russian seaborne crude oil exports to European Union was amount to around 3.7 million tons, which is equal to 38% of the Russian seaborne exports and 20% of the European Union seaborne crude oil imports. So from 30%, it has come from the starting of the year, it has come down to 20% in the November. And so far, buyers in the European Union have found new suppliers, but still they still needs supplier for around 5.5 million tons of crude oil per month. And uh, Russia, if we talk about the Russia, on the contrary, Russia had found new buyers in India and China, and uh, each now imports about 25% of Russian seaborne crude oil. And uh, if we see the percentage of crude oil which India imports at the starting of the year was 0%, as India was not importing crude oil from Russia, has been increased to 25%, and the China initially was importing around 15%, which has increased to around 25%. And if we see the overall net to net basis, the Russia has exported 10% more crude oil via sea in 2022 than in 2021. So, by imposing ban or through the Russia-Ukraine war, the oil exports of Russia have not been impacted much, or rather, it has been increased. If we see the volume, although the prices of the crude oil on which the Russia initially exports and it is exporting now may vary, but if we see the volume of exporting, it is still on the net to net basis. The Russia is in a beneficial mode, but a concern for the European Union is still there for around 5.5 million tons of crude oil per month, for which they haven't find any buyer till now, and there is almost 2 weeks left for the ban. Now the major concern is whether they will continue with its stance of banning, or they will impose some relaxation. That we need to be taken care of very seriously, as since till now there is no they still left with 5.5 million tons, which is around 50% of the quantity which they import from Russia, and still they haven't find any supplier for that particular 50%. And if we consider the current technical charts for the crude oil also, then we can see that from last many days the crude oil has shown significant profit booking, from especially from the level of 98.80 to the level of 82.51. So almost $16 fall has been seen from last few days, and especially from last 2 weeks. And currently the crude oil prices are at its almost at their support prices also, and considering other parameters also, along with the global sentiment, and the if we see the European consumption in the winter tend to increase because of the uh, some minus temperatures, and crude oil as well as natural gas use as a heating oil also in the Europe. Therefore, the consumption and dependency on crude oil and natural gas tend to increase, especially in European countries during winters. And winters are almost here, so uh, that will not be very comfortable for the Europe if they puts complete ban on the Russian oil, and as well as on the natural gas also. So considering these parameters, the crude oil prices, which are currently trading at around 85.37, as you can see on the screen also, tend to uh, show some positive move, especially in the coming week, and especially in the 1 to 2 trading weeks. And all eyes will be on the decisions made by the European Union. And since currently the Russia is on the upper hand, if we consider for the crude oil supply, therefore we do not know whether the Russia will come up with some harsh uh, moves on the Ukraine also, since currently the Russia is on a upper move, and Russia's monopoly can be impacted on the Europe also. And whenever a particular country is on the upper hand, they try to make best use of that particular situation. And as the nature of the Russia is, I as per my analysis, it will definitely make best use of this opportunity. And what will happen next, that we need to be uh, seeing, and we need to be very alerted on the international news is. But if we see the crude oil prices, and the crude oil prices are expected to show some positive move in next coming trading weeks, and especially 1 to 2 weeks. So you need to be very careful in crude oil prices, and let's see what happened. And also you should go through a standard disclaimer that all these information, research and analysis are purely for training, research and educational purposes. We will not be responsible for any sort of profits or losses if in case you incurred by taking any trade. And before taking any trade, you should consult your personal wisdom and your personal financial advisor. So that's all for the today's episode. I hope you liked our analysis. So thank you and good day.